Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we are here to talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC and is all filled with all sorts of enigmatic wisdom on how we can live a more reasonable life. Living a reasonable life is all about living a life in which we are not expecting or asking or wanting other things to change for us. And those other things could be weather, could be people, could be attitudes, could be just situations in general. We find ourselves where we are because the universe is giving us what. And now we can talk about what we want. I mean, ultimately, there are two aspects to our experiences. One aspect is how we perceive the manifestation, and that's about what we focus on. If we focus on the bad, we're going to experience things as bad. We're going to be like, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Well, it's going to drop eventually. And then there's what the universe needs, right? And this is kind of where you get into the matrix kind of stuff, where it's like, okay, your actual reality is influenced by this physical world, right? Your actual reality. But what you're experiencing and what you're contributing to the universe and to the advancement of consciousness and all of these sorts of things, that is different, right? There is a truth that we can't know because we perceive the world through our senses. Right? And our senses are telling us what we expect them to be telling us. And when we perceive the world around us, we're moving consciousness forward without knowing it. Just like the cells and the DNA in our body are, we were talking about DNA yesterday. The DNA in our body have desires and wants, and they're driving us to do things that we think we're deciding on. We think we're in control of. Melissa's going to join me, and then we're going to pick a number. That'll be fun. Melissa, how are you doing today? It's good to see you.
Good, my friend. How are you?
Great, as per usual.
To hear that. Hey, I have to tell you, half the time I don't think I'm in control. In fact, most of the time, Martin John, I'm like, no, it's God who's in control, and I'm just like one of his little pawn pieces. Maybe a rook. I don't know. Maybe I'm the little horsey thing. I'd like to think I'm the queen, or at least the daughter of the king, but I don't know half the time, Martin John. I just kind of make it up as I go along, my friends.
Yeah, there's so many layers and levels of what's happening with life and why life is and all of this, and I look at it from that aspect of Tao of like, there are multiple things happening, and I'm perceiving something, but there's something underneath the surface that's going on through this experience. I'm able to experience it through my ears, my eyes, my skin, my smell, and all of these sorts of things. But there is an underlying current that is making all that possible. And I don't know really what's under that surface. I'm having this experience, and then I'm driving consciousness, God or Tao forward, and I'm sort of a puppet, like you said, to that which needs to be driven forward, just like your hand and the cells in your hand aren't in control of what they're going to do, but maybe they think they are.
Right.
They might think, oh, I'm going to close, but you're like, I need to close my hand. So just like your hand doesn't know that it's not in control, you might not know that you're not in control of your hand. And so there's all of these things. There's all of these layers of being like, this is just what's happening. Can I surrender to that which is happening so I don't suffer? And that's like the idea of living more reasonably. I don't have to change what is. I don't even have to question what is, but there is a point where I do have to be like, oh, this is the way this is. What can I do to make it better for me? How can I accept this, or how can I get out of it? Or what do I have to do to, like, and what am I being asked when we talk about, like, I don't like that, I'm doing this. All right, well then, what can you do, to not like it, but stop doing that which you don't like that you do.
Yeah, I think it's about living life and learning and growing. And I know we had a whole discussion on the word learning one day. But I mean, it is true that sometimes words fail us. Isn't that like one of the first things that Tao says, that words often fail us?
Yeah. Words are particular. They cannot express Tao. And so, but we try to. We continue to try to express what's happening. Even if I were to express this conversation, if I were to talk about it, I couldn't get to the core of the spirit of you and the spirit of me that's behind the conversation. I could only talk about the words that we say and maybe the response that each of us gave. But that's it. I couldn't talk about all of the millions of thoughts that are going through our heads that we might not even be aware of individually. Like, I might not be aware of all the thoughts in my head because I'm aware of what I'm saying. And yet those thoughts are happening, and they're bringing me to different places. Like you got brought to the place where we talked about learning. That was days ago. So the other thoughts that might be in your head might be that you're not mentioning, that those are part of this conversation too. But we can never know that. However, they're there.
Absolutely true. Yeah, the thoughts are in my head about how wonderful it's going to be to spend some time with my daughter on Friday. I mean, there's constant thoughts, like,
life is
firing.
Good.
It is. And it's going to be great today when I go to this interview and I show them what an asset I could be to their school. And we'll just see what happens, right, Martin John?
We'll
if
see.
If it's meant to be, they will offer me a position.
You cannot screw up what's meant for you.
Exactly.
You can't. It's so great.
If Tao and God have this opportunity for me, then it will happen. And, I'm not going to get myself all worked up and bent out of shape, because I'm going to land on my feet somewhere. If it's not there, then I'm trusting that it's going to be, like my girl Cece told me, someplace even better. But I hope it's there.
No, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
We will. All right, I have a number for you, my friend.
Yeah.
I do. Number 56.
56. Moving on up to 56. Ugh, this is you. You like this one. Learn to be silent.
Oh, Lord. I think it's a message, Martin John.
Learn to be silent. I'm telling you, you really like this one. Those who know aren't drawn to speak. Those who don't know are compelled to. Can you close your senses and your mouth? Can you be guided by the empty void? From there, meditate in silence. Blunt your sarcasm and wit. Simplify your struggles. Shade your brilliance. Be at one with the dust. This is primal existence. Be like the master. She is uninspired to acquire fame, yet honors are bestowed upon her. She is possessed by no one and possesses no one, yet she is always loved by many. She is immune to both attraction and repulsion, receptive to both profit and loss. She is noble and held in high esteem by all beings. Like the part, and I want to know what stood out to you there, but the part that stood out to me was she is noble.
Why does that part stand out?
This is the idea of, like, being able to endorse all that you do. Being able to stand up and say, these are my choices, and I'm proud of the choices that I've made. And I'm proud to go into this interview and be upstanding. I don't have to lie, or I don't have to like twist the truth. I don't have to do anything, because I am proud of who I am. And when I think about you stepping into that, it's not about doing a specific thing. It's not about saying a specific thing. For me, what I'm seeing in this, and how in the situation I know that you're in, this idea of being noble, that sums up all of this. She's not drawn to bury herself in words, right? She's not drawn to speak. Those who know aren't drawn to speak. Those who don't know are compelled to, because they're trying to make up for loss. They're trying to make up for something that they don't feel like they have. But when you get to be you, you can close your senses, the sense that you don't know what you have, that you don't know. I was having a conversation yesterday about the idea that it's all here. It's all, like, I have access to much more than I know I have access to. Just like I was talking about, like the DNA yesterday. The DNA is driving us, and it's giving us information about our past. But we don't know where it's coming from. We don't know where that information, I don't know how I got the information. Yesterday I was talking about drumming, like the kids that drum in the city.
Yeah, I heard you. I remember that.
And it's like they're drumming in certain rhythms and beats that go back thousands of years. And yet they're not aware of it, but they're doing it anyway. And it's like, there's information there. And when you can have faith that that information is within you, just like, we can talk about it from God or Tao or DNA or whatever, it doesn't matter. You can, when you know that you're connected to everything, like, this is the idea of being noble, and the idea of being, you know what? I trust, even if I don't know something, I trust that there is a space for me to say, I don't know, rather than try and spin it as, well, I didn't have to know it because God didn't give it to me. Whoa. Like, can't you just admit that you didn't know? Or can't you just be, and that's what being noble is. It's being like, this is who I am. And who I am is connected to everything, and I love me, and it's not placing blame. It's not judging. It is like, that is what, as I read through all that, and then I read that last line, she is noble and held in high esteem by all beings. That brought up so much for me, that idea of like, oh, like you can go into that interview, sit down, keep your head up, and be you, and be proud. It's you that's there, that's answering it. You don't have to be someone else. You don't have to convince them you're someone else. You're you. And whatever the outcome is going to be, you're always going to, like, this is who you are. What stood out to you?
The line that, I was just going to say, the line that's jumped out at me was, she is loved by many, because I think that that's a blessing, that I'm able to make connections. And like, I'm going to use yesterday as an example with the kiddos. I officially took over the 4th grade ELA class yesterday, and or maybe unofficially, I'm not sure. But either way, the kiddos, I just went in there, and I was my silly self. I called myself a word nerd, and I was just joking around and having fun. And, to see the smiles on their faces. And, like I made a game out of like making up nicknames for the kiddos. I'm like, okay, the kid's name was Jeffrey. I'm like, Jeffrey, you are JJ. And the one girl, her name is Dakota. I'm like, Dakota, you are Coco. I asked him first if it was okay.
Yeah.
But we just had so much fun. And then I took him to the PE teacher, and the difference in their behavior was not only noticed by him, but noticed by one of the behavior support persons at the school. And I was just shocked. I got a text from the PE teacher about 10 minutes after the kids got there. And he's like, I just want you to know you're an amazing teacher. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is so sweet. And then this guy the behavior guy, I barely know him. He comes up to me and he's like, what's your name again? And so I told him what my name is. He's like, can I just thank you for making my job easier? And I was like, oh my goodness, thank you. So, it's just a blessing to feel that the love that I give out is received and to get it back. So I'm just thankful for that.
And, there is so much, one, that whole yet she is loved by many is like she possesses no one and she is possessed by no one and possesses no one. You're not trying to control anybody. You're not trying to possess anybody. You're not trying to hold on to anybody. And that includes your daughter. And then
because she's on her own path.
That's right. And because you're not trying to possess, you're not trying to control, you're not trying to dictate. This isn't about your job. And that's why she is noble. Because this is about what you are inspired to do at this moment. And you know that your path is graced with love and graced with blessing. And so then you can sit down in that chair across from those interviewers and hold your head high, knowing that this job isn't bigger than you are. This is like, they're going to be lucky to have you, as is the world.
Oh, Martin Sean, that's the kindest thing I've heard all day.
Well, it's early. You just chopped off. But thank you so much for coming up. If you wanted to come back up and had anything to say, you can. But no, it's true. And that's true for everybody. We are better off that you're here. I'm not going to be able to explain why that is. I'm not going to be able to separate everything out to tell you why you're special. And even asking that is trying to understand why am I special? You don't understand why you're special, but you look at the wake of your life and you look at the wake and you realize that that's why. And it's not because I said so. It's because it's true. It's because in the wake of your existence, you affect people. And as you affect people, and you affect people in many different ways. Sometimes you can affect people in a negative way, but they could take it as a positive and they can move the goalpost for themselves. Because that's about their experience. There's so many layers, like we were talking about. And so when each of us go out in the world and share love, however we're going to do that, and I've been talking about this for time and time again. There are people that go out in the world and they try and get a job with the biggest organization so that they can be attached to that organization because that organization does great stuff. But when you go into an interview, when you go into a a place you have to remember, no matter how big that institution is, you're more, because you have a life. Yes, that institution has a life, but as the Tao says, know where their reach should end. Know where the reach of an institution should end. The reach of a human being, the reach of you, your reach, has no limit. You're going to affect people, and that is going to be remembered forever. These kids, Mlissa, that you were inspiring and are going to continue to inspire, makes the jobs of those around them easier, makes those kids better. Like that, that little amount of time, that little amount of inspiration that you were able to share, that little amount of love that you were able to share. This is who you are now, right? This is who you have grown to be. And Tao, or God, whatever, the universe is giving you opportunities to experience that. And are you going to fuck up? Yes. You're going to fuck up here and there, because those are going to be places that you're going to learn. Those are going to be places that you still need to learn to love yourself, because you're going to have to love yourself more and more and more every day. And if you think that you're loving yourself as much as you ever have and you couldn't love yourself anymore, you're wrong, because you can. And you will continue to do all these things that this is in this 56. Can you close your senses and your mind? Your senses being like that which you want, right? That which you prefer, like whether whether it's your eyes, your nose, your ears, your skin, whatever. Your emotions. Can you be guided by the empty void? The empty void is like all of the potential, all the possibility. From there, meditate in silence, blunt your sarcasm and wit. That's a big thing. I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, I'm a sarcastic person. And if you can't handle sarcasm, well then, too bad for you. This is who I am. And it's like, whoa. Sarcasm is often, I don't know that I've ever seen it otherwise, but it is often just a pacifier to covering up like actual like feelings. It's actual like judgment that we're having with ourselves. Marianne, how are you?
Oh, I'm good.
Was this a mistake again?
No, this was not.
This is not a mistake. Okay, good.
No, this was what I needed. So thank you, Melissa, too, because I've got this really big day too, and I'm kind of a little bit of a bundle of nerves today. So good to hear. So,
how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm good. So, when you get in that, you're excited to try something, but yet you're like, oh my gosh, this is out of my comfort zone. So, so it's scary.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you have going on today?
Tonight sometime today I'm heading down to the cities, and I have class tonight. I don't even know what it is, but it's from 4:30 to 8, and it's all in sign. There'll be interpreters there,
right?
But yeah.
Now, is this a test, or is this just like an actual like is this real world application?
Yeah, more real world. All my little cohort will be there. I think I'm not sure who. I honestly don't know what this thing is. They said I had to go, so I'm going to.
Okay, good. Well, that's the best. Like, first off, it's like, it's always so good to go in without expectation. And that's what you're going to do, right? You're going to go into this. You're not going to know what it is. But you do know that you're going to be utilizing something that you've been studying, and don't feel like, being a firstborn, you may not ever feel like it's enough, because that is like in the biological aspect, like you have to help, you have to survive. Like survival is like, you don't know if you could survive. You never know if you could survive until You do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you are preparing to walk into the lion's den, and you have had all of your training, but you don't believe that it's there yet. This is the same thing that, like Mlissa had to do yesterday when she went in front of her class. Now, she has been teaching classes, so it's probably less of a big jump for her. But my guess is, you sound the same way I feel with my Spanish, where it's like, yes, I can follow along, but it's really broken. Like I might not catch every word of a sentence, and I can communicate with the vocabulary I have, but it's not like, and my vocabulary is extensive, but it's not. It's definitely, I would shy away from utilizing the word fluent, but if you were to hear me, you may think very well I'm fluent unless you were raised in a household that spoke Spanish. Right. So like I'm good, but this isn't a test for someone else. This is a test for you, right? No one else is going to grade your experience tonight.
Exactly.
And even after this experience, you're going to come up with reasons to doubt yourself anyway, because if you just chalked it up as, oh, I get it, you would stop. You know what I mean? It would just be like, okay, I'm good. I don't have to practice anymore. And we all know that that's not true. That's not the place you're even looking to get. But you want to be at that destination, and there is no destination. You're going to be able to communicate, and you're going to be able to learn, and you're going to be able to go through this experience just fine. Now, are you going to do it at the degree that you want to do it? With that wanting again, that desire to do it. You got to be. That is above average.
You're right.
You aren't you aren't behind anything. And this has been, this has been the bane, right? This has been the thing that's been kind of pulling you down. It's like that you don't know enough. And one, that has to be okay because you know plenty. Now, if you didn't do anything and then had arrogance to be like, I know everything, but you didn't study and you didn't, and then you got a D, like, see, I passed. That's a different experience. You're not going to do that. You're doing this, and you want to live up to a certain standard. And yes, that's an important part of how you experience the world.
Yeah, because even those standards are what I'm putting on myself.
Right.
So
and then those are only taking you out of this moment.
Right.
And then you are already 12 hours ahead, and you got to go teach. You got to go do all your stuff today. And this is creeping in under the surface. And it's like, oh, well, being present gives you so much more time. If you do one thing at a time, children, their days go by so slowly because they do one thing at a time. Adults' days, you can be in bed before you know it because you got 6 things on your plate all at once and you don't have time to be present.
Right. Or you want it to be in bed because you're getting
Do you have a number?
No, I don't really.
Okay.
And the other part is, so this is like, to me, this huge week, because then tonight's a big night to me. And then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I actually have a week off of school, of work, because I have to do field experience in a elementary setting that uses ASL like pretty much all day, she said. So, it's like a true test. I'm like, man, if I can make it through this next week, I'll really know how my skills are and, if I can do this job.
I picked a random number and I got 73 for you. I'm going to read through that. But before I do, I want to talk about overwhelm. Yeah. And I feel like so much of this could be an experience of overwhelm. You know, like it's overwhelming to be surrounded by ASL all the time. Because this is something you're learning. You're still not yet comfortable with it. And it's very much like going to another country when you have a certain grasp of the language, but you're not, like for me in my Spanish, not fluent. Especially when you go to different countries that have different accents or different words that they use or different, you know what I mean? Like all of that kind of stuff changes. Well, as soon as you get dropped off in the middle of a country that like you don't know their cadence, you don't know their vocabulary, you don't know their specifics. I can speak, Castilian, but I can't necessarily speak to people in Chile. Because I'm not fluent in Castilian, but I know Spanish, but they're using a Spanish and their dialect is so distinct that I can't hear it. So what I'm hearing is that experience of getting dropped in the middle of a country, and then you're going to have 7 hours. Like in a classroom or with people, like in which you, for a week, 7 hours a day, in which you're not speaking at all and you're using only this. That overwhelm, that discomfort of being overwhelmed is what learning is. What you are afraid of is what your kids are experiencing every day. Yeah. And their sensitivity for not doing their homework, their sensitivity to bullying, their sensitivity to trying to pacify, especially when they're really young, when they're still learning new stuff all the time, they're constantly overwhelmed. And because they're constantly overwhelmed, they are, and they don't have the experience that you do, where it's just like, this is how I'm feeling, and this, I have control of my emotions, and all of these kinds of things. And I have stories so I can avoid being overwhelmed. They don't have, and they're just dropped into an overwhelming. Imagine being born, just real quick. Like, you don't know anything, and then you are forced out of a womb. Like, that's traumatic. You at least get to worry about this until 6 o'clock tonight when you have to show up at the thing. You at least can tell story because you've had experiences. Imagine having no experiences whatsoever and then having to go into not just a classroom that you can leave after 4 hours, but into a life of just overwhelm. Now that happens for the first 2 years of our life, and all of that overwhelm that we experience is learning. And that's why we say that children are more malleable, because they don't have a way to avoid that overwhelm. We do. That's why we as adults, it takes more for us to learn, because we don't get into that state of overwhelm very, very often. We don't put ourselves in the position that you're about to put yourself in. The position that you're going to put yourself in is going to help you learn and remember more about ASL, even in your mistakes, even when you get lost. When you get lost, yes, okay, go back and figure out where you got lost, sure, but also let yourself just kind of absorb. Because that child who's in the crib listening to their parents, they don't know what they're saying, but they're absorbing it. And through that absorption, they learn. They don't know that they're learning. We don't have any way of really talking about how they're learning, because they're doing it for themselves. And they're just listening, whether it's to TV or your cats know certain language, know certain words in English because they hear you say it.
She agrees.
Yes. She knows what I'm saying because she hears you talking and she hears the TV, and she's not stupid. And so that overwhelm eventually calms down when you learn more and more and more and feel more comfortable. But that overwhelm is such an important part of learning. It's such an important part. And the number that I picked for you today in the random number generator was 73. Nothing falls through. And it says, there are men who love feeling, and to feel they kill. There are men who love feeling, and to do so remain calm. I mean, my screen shut off. Who's to say which will experience more turmoil? There is purpose in walking with death as there is in walking with life. The inner workings of Tao, and this is the important part, I think, the inner workings of Tao can never be understood. It makes no commands, yet all things come on their own accord. It never acts, but all things act on its behalf. It is empty, yet within it lies all things and their master plans. Tao is a net holding all things together, connected. Its mesh is wide, but it holds so well nothing falls through. I'll send you that. Did anything stand out when I read that?
I forgot already.
Yeah, no, that happens, yeah.
It was towards the end, the net. I don't know.
Yeah. Its mesh is wide, yet it holds so well nothing falls through. And that's the thing, you're being held. And this overwhelm isn't something that you need to be like afraid of. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but you've experienced this before. And every one of the kids that you teach experiences. And imagine becoming deaf and having to learn sign language for the first time.
Yeah.
That would be overwhelming. It's kind of like if you try to understand someone who has to be in a wheelchair and you get in a wheelchair, you can still get out. They can't. You know what I mean? You could still get up and walk. They can't. And so because you can get up and walk, you have a different experience. You can't ever know their experience.
Right, because you always know it's going to end, because I've done experiments like that too. So,
right.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be in the position someone that is deaf is in, because you can always hear. And so no matter how much you're overwhelmed, there's a whole nother side to that. You just dropped off. If you wanted to come back up and say something, you can. Otherwise, I'll send you Nothing Falls Through. Oh, good. And so it could. There could be a lot behind the idea that you can hear and they can't, and that's a big deal. Go on.
No, that I agree with you. And this whole experience going back to school has put me kind of teary today. Has put me in the of the kids I work with, because it's like, wow, I do understand what it is not to be the top of your class, and to have to struggle a little more. So
that's good. That's good. Yeah. And it's not about the result. It's about your experience. And you can have this experience of not being at the top of your class. And that's not a bad thing. Yes, you're judging yourself, but who cares? Like, that's just happening in your head. And there's nothing to it. There's nothing. So like, I remember I did an interview with, president of the, Good Teachers Association of America, or whatever it was. And he was like, he was learning Korean or Japanese because his son married into a Japanese family or a Korean family. I don't know which one it was. And he was like, and I don't know if I would pass a test for my knowledge of the language, but I can communicate. And I'm happy with it. You're so embedded into the institution, into learning institutions, that measuring is important. And yeah, sure, measuring is nice, but when you communicate with a child, when you communicate, like those are the things that matter. And what matters is like how you feel and understanding. Because if you didn't have this experience, you wouldn't understand the other kids. You wouldn't understand what it's like to be overwhelmed. You are bringing more to the table. It's not just about the result of a test. It's about you're bringing your experience to all of these people. You're bringing this experience to all of the kids. You're bringing this experience and sharing this to everyone that you're ever going to meet from this point on, in one way or another. And so this is just deepening your ability to connect.
So true. Yeah. And it has opened my eyes to, I don't know, it's been way harder than I ever thought, but good.
And And I want to say, like, it's hard to do hard things, And so if you knew it was going to be this hard, you may have been very scared to enter it. But you entered it assuming that you would be able to do this easily. And now it's a challenge. Good, I say.
Oh, it's like every day. Now I'm like, why did I choose this? I have a job I enjoy.
Because it's not, once again, if your life was simply about a job.
Yeah.
And as it says in this, there's purpose with walking with death as there is in walking with life. And if we lighten those words, right? There's purpose in walking in challenge as there's purpose in walking with discomfort as there is in walking with comfort.
Oh, yeah.
The inner workings of Tao can never be understood. Why did you do this? Because you needed to do this. What's that all? And it wasn't about you making the choice. This is a choice that was made, and you are doing it. And so there are men who love feeling, and to feel they become uncomfortable. There are men who love feeling, and to do so remain comfortable. Who's to say which will experience more turmoil? And if we just lighten those words instead of kill and calm, right? We put it into perspective, right? Then all of a sudden we're like, oh, it doesn't matter if I'm comfortable or uncomfortable. Because if you just remained comfortable, would you experience more turmoil in the long run, or is this more turmoil than that? And who's to say? It doesn't really matter. You're choosing this life, and you're able to, and it's unfolding in front of you, and you're choosing to surrender to certain urges, certain things, so that you can be who you are. You're able to see yourself. You're able to challenge yourself and push yourself to the next place, whatever that is. Tao makes no commands. It continues. Tao makes no commands, yet all things come on their own accord. It didn't command you to do this, but you went and did it anyway.
Right.
And that's what makes it so special, because you did it. Now, is it only you, and do you take all of that kind of stuff? Whatever. Do what you want. But this is showing you about yourself and giving you the ability to be more for the kids that you serve, and to the people that are in your life, and to even you.
True.
Yeah.
And for the kids in the future
That's right. They're going to see this in you, even if you're not in the middle of it. You're going to exude this experience because it's going to be coming from you, and they will be able to understand that experience better. And then you're going to be able to understand how overwhelmed they are, and give them the space that they need so that they can challenge themselves, but not judge themselves.
Right.
Because it's hard. It's hard. Like, new things are hard. This is why I started writing with my left hand, because it's overwhelming. It's too much. It's like, I got to think about all of these things, and then I don't know, 3, 5, 7 years. I don't know how long I've been doing it, but it's like years and years on. It's fine. I don't even think about it.
Wow.
But it takes time, and you have to feel overwhelmed. You have to, that's just a learning process. And that's why stillness and integration, that's why we've read that one before. The idea that you become still and you integrate what is learned. Because you don't know what you're learning. You don't have a syllabus. You're just, maybe you do for this class, but in terms of in your life, you don't have a syllabus. And so you just bring it on, and then you experience that. And as you experience it, you give yourself more and more opportunity to learn and to integrate what you're learning.
Oh, well, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, I'll send you the 73, and then you have a wonderful day. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you're doing great.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye.
All right, love you. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is Martin John, and this is Tao of the Day. It is Thursday. My buddy's going to be calling me in about 15 minutes or so I'm going to wrap up here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is Martin John. Once again, this is Tao of the Day. And if you benefit from Tao of the Day, or like the teachings that I talk about, and it brings insight, clarity, or just a moment of peace in your day, I invite you to support me and my continuing this show. Noom Vibe has pulled their support for Tao of the Day, and so I do rely on contributions if you appreciate my work to keep this going. You can support me directly through Buy Me a Coffee. It's a simple way for you to keep this going. If you check out my links in my profile, both on Linktree and on my website, you'll find places that you can donate to keep this show alive. Thank you so much for joining me. I love doing this, and I love that you guys are here with me. You can pick up a copy of my Tao at my website as well. You can probably find a link directly to do that through my Linktree. And if you have any questions, you can contact me on the back channel of the Noom Vibe app. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.